Hey, what's up everyone? This is Michael from Karate Breakdown. If you're new to this channel, I take karate forms or katas and look at them through real world applications, and I also do tutorials. Today we're looking at karate through Japanese Jiu-Jitsu and looking at their similarities. What's cool about this is one of the channel followers actually put me onto Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. I personally haven't taken any classes on that myself. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I know there's relationships there, but it's still not the same style. I looked at a lot of clips over the last couple weeks and I saw so many relationships, so many similarities between karate and Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. First thing I want to point out is closing the distance, either on your terms or their terms with a frame, and then also striking to close the distance as well. You'll see some sparring footage here, and then also I'm going to clip to a compilation of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu throws and show them in karate katas for you to see. I also have my trusty screen brush here to kind of show arrows and stuff, so I'm going to be pausing and commentating on the clips as we go along. So if you guys look here, when you are trying to strike to one, close the distance, or two, before you do a throw, the idea is you're striking to disengage their thought process. That's just a fancy way of saying distract them from what they're trying to do. And then also you're striking to break their posture, right? Because you always want to think, especially for grappling arts, it's going to be very hard to throw somebody when their posture is upright, when they have a solid base and a solid foundation. So you strike to kind of soften them up. And you see it all the time in old school grappling styles, and also in things like judo. They might not strike anymore, but they might do like a hard tug with the gi. They might misdirect them with their grips and their pulls and pushes. But the idea is the same. You're trying to get them off balance. One, you're trying to fit into the space that you created, and also get their mind off of what you're trying to do. So if you can throw a strike in there, and Japanese Jiu-Jitsu does this really well, throw that strike and then go for your throw and your takedown. You'll notice the Jiu-Jitsu guys, they frame or they block with both arms as the strike is coming in, and then they strike right afterwards to soften the guy up. To me, it looks a lot like Naihanchi Niran. So you look at these frames here, you see how this arm is pulling this way, this one's came out as well, and it's kind of blocking high and also low. And you can imagine a haymaker coming through and you're blocking like that. You also see it in movements like in Goju Shiho as well, the same type of frame. And this structure here, you guys look at that, it's at a perfect angle to be a solid structure. So if any pressure comes in, you're able to withstand that. You'll see it in this clip in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. He blocks with both arms like this. So in this case, both arms are here at the haymaker arm, blocking with a solid frame. After that, he'll throw a strike and then go for the throw. So let's get into the throws now. First one here looks like Pinan Sandan. So he steps in. You can imagine this is like wrapping your arm around someone's waist, and you're gonna take a big step as if you're throwing them over your hip. So you got a basic hip toss here. And you notice how in the previous kata, you're facing one direction, you turn and face the other direction. That's the same setup as a hip toss. And then you also bend down and come up. You're getting yourself underneath their center of gravity when you do that, and you're able to lift them up off the ground. Next one here, there's a few series in that Japanese Jiu-Jitsu clip. This is in Naihanchi Niran, but both hands go up like this, and then this leg here is actually going to come up, and then it's going to stomp down, which to me is really interesting. You can think of it as a stomp as a way to trip somebody, or a lift so that you're lifting their center of gravity above your head, so that your arms, when they do come down, you're taking them down to the ground. So let's see this in motion. Lift, stomp, turn over. And I always see when the arms turn over like this, especially with the hips sticking out like that, it's some type of hip toss, some type of a throw over the shoulder. You'll see here, this is literally called a stamping throw. He's gonna stamp as a way to get more velocity up to lift this person up over his hip. Stamp, lift. And then look at the hands turn over like this, just like the Naihanchi kata in the previous clip. And even looking down, spotting to where his body needs to turn to get this full rotation of the throw. Now this one here, it's talking about the lift of this leg. So keep an eye on this leg as it helps assist with the lift of the opponent. Look at that. If you could catch your foot on the inside of the knee or the shin, grazing against the inside thigh, it's going to help lift your opponent up as you see that, and then you're going to turn it over just like the kata shows. And then this is a shoulder throw. What's cool about this, he actually hyperextends the elbow on the way through, which gets the opponent's on the ball of their feet and lifts their center of gravity up. You'll see that recurring theme, right? Again, you got to break their posture to be able to throw them. So look, the arm hooks around his arm to the point where he extends it. He gets that tap because now he's on his tippy toes, and then he goes for that shoulder throw. Now this one here in NP, it reminds me a lot of another throw, especially when the leg goes down here. So let's watch this play out. Boom. So I've done clips on this before. You can imagine like grabbing on someone's lapel and then throwing them down, or thinking of it like a snap down type thing. Or if you think someone's grabbing you from behind, you could take them over your shoulder as you drop down to one knee, and we're gonna see some clips on that. First, we're gonna look at this reverse body drop. So he essentially does like a knee, hip toss, but backwards. He's gonna take him over this leg here. But look at the ending posture here. Same thing, leg down on one knee, this leg's out here, and then the hands one down and one up, just like the kata shows. Now we do the same thing on this side. One knee down, hands down, there it is. And then now this one in Pinan Godon. So you can imagine you're doing the back step that you see a lot in grappling. Back steps help for rotations. And the arm lifts underneath as if you're lifting somebody up, and then they step around, face the other direction, and drop down to one knee. So this reminds me a lot of like a hip or a shoulder throw. This one's cool because I think he's actually gonna grab the head from behind. Yeah, and assist with that throw. Same idea here, dropping down to one knee, whereas this one's like a head and arm throw you see in wrestling over the top. Same thing here, he does like a Kimura grip on the arm and does the same thing where he drops down to one knee. And you guys notice it's not exactly like the kata shows, but the concepts are still there, right? I'm still looking at, hey, where does my body end up? What am I doing with my own posture? And what can this do to my opponent? This one's really cool. It's I always look at Pasai kata and this huge arm swing, kind of like a clothesline motion. And then it has a turn to it too, where your body is facing 45 this way. You can see it in the stance here. And the arm drops down to the ground. So anytime you have a 180 degree or 90 degree rotation from your starting point, most likely you're dragging someone or throwing someone to the ground here. This looks so much like it here. Our legs pointed this way, arm circled around, and now it's pointing down, and then the leg here traps the person so he flips over. And he even brings the arm back down as a way to prevent him from turning in. Same thing here. You'll see this in kata as well. Without the arm bent and curling back over like a middle block, you do a straight arm that goes all the way across. In this case, he's doing it right at the armpit, which adds that lift, and then he's anchoring the person, the blackie, to a shoulder, and then just rotating his body over and taking the guy down. Same thing here, Pasai in a different kata, but it's the same type of idea, that back leg trips out the person as you rotate them over. And then this one, another fan got me on this, where they were talking about the punch, punch, kick, punch as a way to throw, right? And I see this in Goju Shiho. So he kicked with his back leg, landed it in the back, and then punched with that same leg forward, or same arm forward. You could think of that leg landing hard back as a way to trip out your opponent's leg, and then the front arm here that punches forward is like pushing them over. So we'll see that in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu as well. So you see it here. Notice how you can imagine he did a front snap kick, and now this leg is going to kick hard back to sweep out this leg, and the punching arm is essentially just pushing the person over. Boom. Does it again, just like that. And then this one's another one from Pasai. Anytime I see that circle step, it reminds me of hooking behind someone's leg. It's very hard to enter into someone's legs straight, so you're gonna have to hook behind to go on the inside or hook behind to go on the outside. So the legs do that, and then the hands push forward. And it reminds me of like a Ouchigari in judo. And you'll see this, they call it inside hook. So hands here, it receive the punch, and then the leg's gonna hook behind and you're gonna push forward. Boom. Just like the kata shows. Now this one's a cross step with the hands going straight down to the side. Anytime I see cross step, it reminds me of what my sensei told me, you gain a lot of ground when you cross step. So if I'm chasing somebody, or if I'm trying to get behind them, if they're standing really close to me like that, if I'm trying to get behind their center of gravity and past their feet, I'm gonna cross step. And then my hands shoot down to the side as if I'm doing like a big hip takedown across my thigh. You'll see it here. So he went behind his leg here, the hands go down to the ground, and it pushes the guy over. Now this one's like the same idea. This is a big step into a double punch type thing. And I always think about that as like a double leg takedown or some type of grab onto the leg. And in this case, he's grabbing it down that way. Boom. Of course, the classic Naihachi foot sweep. So opposite leg, opposite arm. This one kicks across and then the arm pulls him over. This one's cool. They have two different variations. One's where you're kicking, actually tripping the foot out. So you're sticking your leg there. And then the other one's where you're tripping the knee out. So it's like a hizaguruma in judo. In both cases, the leg goes across and then the hands go in the opposite directions. Beautiful. And then this one, I always look at, see how his hands went in a circular motion. It's like I'm scooping up the leg. And then I also tied it to another movement in Kusanku where the arm goes across, high and up, the other one goes down. And he's crouching here. A lot of times in Kobudo, they teach this thing as if you're like dodging like a sweeping blow up top, like someone swinging a bat or a bow at you. But if you think about it in the unarmed sense, a lot of people, they drop down to the leg to grab onto the leg and then push them over. So you think of this as like a single leg takedown, especially with that arm cross there. It reminds me a lot of grabbing the leg and then doing something with it. So look, front arm's above the head, this arm's going down and grab the leg, and then you're gonna stand up with it and dump them over. Boom. Finally, we're gonna look at this last Naihanchi thing. Anytime you turn the arm over, also it reminds me of like an elbow lock, hyperextension of the elbow here. This is what I was classically taught back when I was a lot younger by my sensei back then. This was like a twisting arm over hyperextension of the elbow. So you see that here as well, this motion. So elbow flared out, arm straightened out. This one's grabbing the wrist. He's putting a lot of pressure on the elbow here, and all he has to do is sit down to take the guy down here. Perfect. He's being gentle with it. I'm gonna link this clip itself into the description below. So check that out. Props to them. Thanks for putting out 50 throws on Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. What do you guys think about Japanese Jiu-Jitsu? Is it kind of lost today? Is it still practical? Is it still useful? Leave a comment below and stick around for the next one.